Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, and today I'm going to bring you, or I was going to bring you, this South Bend Mr. Big Fish, and we were going to see about going through it, but I happen to know that it's actually broken, so I'm not going to be able to get a part for it. And so I hate to do two fails in a row, and since I did that Fjord reel yesterday with the fail, I decided instead what we're going to do today is going to be this Zebco reel bait caster. And oh, by the way, I've had a few people that saw one of my videos and said, hey, I like seeing your face. So they said it personalized the videos a little more. So I'm going to be here talking to you and starting the videos out this way from now on, or at least for a little bit anyway. And they say it personalizes the videos a little more, lets you know who I am so you can see me better. So anyway, for now, let's get started on this Zebco bait caster. All right, so this is a Zebco PS5000 bait caster. It's a Zebco Pro Staff bait caster reel. And we're going to take it apart, service it, lubricate it. First off, we're going to check, see if it works. And spool release works just fine. I'm going to go ahead and cut this free so that we can spin the spool release. But before we do that, let's go ahead and wind it there just a little bit and see if we got, okay, drag's working. Let's see if we can tighten the drag up. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so the drag's working. The spool release is working. It winds fine. How about anti-reverse is working? Okay, it's actually a nice little reel, and I've never had one of these apart, so we're going to walk our way through it. First thing we're going to do is take the handle nut off. The cover, screw. All right, looks to be about a 10 millimeter. Handle removed. Remove the tensioner, and let's unscrew the drag star knob. All right, now I believe at this point we're ready to unscrew these three screws on the side here, and that allows the far side of the reel to come off. There we go. It's kind of dirty inside there. We'll be cleaning that out. And the spool comes out. The spool looks very clean, both ends. All right, so I said the reels seem to be working just fine. Okay, and we are going to see if there is, okay, those three screws come out. They are all three identical. So we'll set them over to the side, and it appears that we're going to have to take out the bridge screws to take out this side. So all right, as those loosen up, yep, oh, fortunately it's spring loaded, lifts off. Okay, we've got a bearing right here, and there's nothing else in that cover. Looks like somebody greased this with Vaseline. That's what it appears that it has in it. And all right, now this is where you want to take a really good close look at where all your springs and stuff go, so that in the event that something pops loose or comes off, you've seen how the springs go. Okay, this spring here coils around. That's the one for, and I try not to push the buttons once I've taken the cover off. Okay, we're going to take these two yoke springs off. Get them over to the side, and let's see. Okay, this is our worm drive gear. It comes off, goes over here, and something, yeah, okay, there is, okay, we'll take that, yep, that wants to come out, but it cannot come out because of the screw that's in the pawl underneath, but we're going to wait on that. We're not going to take that off yet. Let's go ahead and take the gear, up and out of here. There we go. On here, we're going to find 1, 2 heavy tension spring washers. Notice that they've got a slight curve to them. They're supposed to have that curve. They're tension springs. All right, and then we've got this one here, and it should help that lift off. There we go. There's our gear. Then we've got our reset cog here for anti-reverse. Okay, notice that your anti-reverse is going to go against this post right here when it rotates. So it comes over, and when you back it up, see how it comes in? It hooks in the anti-reverse cog. Okay, so we should be able now to lift this cog out. Well, for that, this looks like our yoke is going to want to come out. So let's go ahead and take it out. Okay, there's our yoke assembly out. Okay, now let's come back and take this anti-reverse cog and anti-reverse clip out. This one sprung a little bit. Those should be touching right there, or very close to touching. So we're going to tweak that just a little bit. And let's see here. We've got a washer on top. There we go. So, and we had a washer underneath that come loose. Okay, so this one is going to fit all the way down like that. And then our cog is going to go on top of that, so that we know how that goes when we go to put it back. Okay, like so. All right, let's go ahead and take it back off. And the washer. Okay, and this appears to be our reset cog right here. I've never seen one like this one. Notice that the points are facing in the counterclockwise direction. I've never seen one like that. Okay, and it appears that there's still another washer down on there. And there is. We're going to go ahead and take out these 2 screws to lift this out, because it's possible there's a bearing under there. It's most likely just a bushing, but we're going to go ahead and take it out. And the post should come off. All right, I do not see a bearing in there. Appears just to be plastic bushing. Okay, and there's our end pushing here. And you could take this C-clip off and slide this apart, but I don't really see that that's going to gain us anything. And if you did do that, all you do is put it back. All right, there is a washer up underneath that, but it stays under it, so there's no need to take that off. Unless, of course, it was really, really dirty, but I think we can, even then, I think we could clean that up with just a scrub brush, and a little bit of WD-40 would clean that up. Okay, that goes over there. Now we're back over here to our jack plate. And let's see how our jack plate is installed. Okay, it's got this spring. Wow, that is a really strong spring. And I'm going to lift it up and out of there so that it can't shoot. There we go. Okay, with that out, we should be able to take this screw out. And this should be a shouldered screw, but it's not. Okay, so what they did, instead of putting the shoulder on the screw, they put the shoulder on the plastic here for the screw to come down to, so that the spring fits around this shoulder. That keeps it from binding. All right, we're gonna set that over here to the side with the screw. I'll tell you what, let's put that in a different locale so that they're separate from each other. They don't get confused. It's starting to get a little bit of, few number of screws here. Okay, now we're gonna lift this jack plate off. All right, and we're gonna set it over here. And that brings us down to just this spring that is on the release lever over here. All right, and I don't see a reason in the world to take that off. Well, let's see if we can do it. take the spring loose and see if the pin pulls out. And it does. Okay, the spring comes right out. Set the pin over here to the side. Set the spring and this pin, which appears that it comes out as well. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Let's see. Okay, that's mounted in it. Okay, so that comes out to the side. All right, there's our spring. Okay, we're running out of parts for this. We do have a bearing in the side here. We're going to see if that bearing will turn freely. It does. So we're going to leave it in there and just oil it good. Well, we're going to oil it after. Well, let's go ahead and put the oil in it now. Some of it can be seeping into there. We're going to come back in a little bit and scrub this entire frame, but some of that new fresh oil can get inside there. Okay, now we're back over here, and we're going to take apart the worm gear. We're going to take the pawl off. You're going to be really careful with this because this is a plastic cap on this pawl, and it looks like it would snap off very easily. All right, I'm going to see if this is a steel pawl. If it is, it will, yep, it will come right out with a magnet, which it did. Okay, set the pawl over there. Now this will come out all the way. There we go. And that'll allow us to scrub and clean that. And this will come out this other side this way. If you care to take it, I'm not going to take it that far. Well, somebody's going to ask. So we're going to take it out this side. Okay, the pin side goes over here on this side. That's going to be the non-handle side. Okay, that's where the side where the pin goes in. So it comes in from the non-handle side. And now with that done, you should be able to take out the carrier. All right. The only thing left that we haven't taken off is this cap right here, which just opens that up and lets you into the bearing or bushing. There's nothing there. And there is nothing on this reel that is dirty. So we're not going to spend a lot of time cleaning and scrubbing. We're going to, actually with this side plate, we're going to scrub. But aside from that, this reel looks very nice. We're going to do a little wiping inside. So the frame is the only part that's dirty. Everything else looks really good. So I will be back in just a second. All right, as promised, I wasn't gone long. The only thing I really did was cleaned up here. I cleaned out the carrier and the spool here. So we're ready to start assembling. I'm going to start off by sliding the worm gear guide back in, and it appears that it will fit right, that pin will fit right in between those two posts right there, and that locks it into place. All right. Oh, hang on. Had to put the carrier in. There we go. So start off by slipping the carrier back down inside here so that when we push this across, it slides inside the carrier like so. And then that pin will go in. Oh, gotta rotate it around to get it in. There we go, right in between those two notches. Then our worm gear is going to go in like so. And this flat side here is going to go on the side where the gears are, because that's the side that this gear is going to fit onto, like so. All right, but we're not going to put it on there yet. I just wanted you to see that that's where it goes. All right, so slide that in. Now we're ready to put our our pawl back in. Make sure that your pawl is completely clean. There's no dirt or anything else on it. When you put it back in, you want the two teeth facing front to back. Drop it in. Go ahead and give it a little oil. And now while you've got it sitting there, you want to rotate the worm gear enough to get that pawl to slide in. Once it does, and it's a little difficult to turn that without having the gear installed on it. Once you've got the pawl down in there, it should activate and start turning back and forth if you've got it in the slot. If it's not in the slot, it's not going to do it. Go ahead, start to turn it down, but remember, this is plastic. You do not want it very tight. You just want it until it starts to catch, and then rotate the pawl, and it should free up a little bit. Turn it down a little more. Once it's in, it will start to move the carrier back and forth, which it's doing. Once you've got it like that, you should be able to snug it down, and the pawl should rotate all the way from one side to the other. All right, good. Next, we're going to come over to the gear side, and we're going to reinstall our button. Pin comes up from this side, comes up, and then, well, it's going to hold it there. Oh, that's the pin that activates the jack plate. So bring it through and line this hole up right here. With the hole lined up, this pin should drop through this spring and then drop into the hole all the way across to the other side, like so. When it's like that, easiest thing is to get it over this pin. The loop goes over the pin, and then the other side will come up and go around that pin right there, so that you have an assembly that looks like that. Okay. Next thing on the list is going to be installing our jack plate. Okay, if you look on this side over here, you've got a plastic cap or outlet that jack plate has to slide under. Okay, like so. See right there? Has to slide under that. Once you've got it there, you can come back. Take your jack plate spring, set it in place over here with the long L end or jagged end over here like that, and then the spring's going to go over this shoulder right here. Then we're going to take this screw and screw it back down, and it's going to go all the way in like that. Once that's done, grab your free end of the spring over here. Let's go ahead and pull this jack plate back as far as it will come. Let's see here. It's there, and then backs up to there. Okay, take the free end here, bring it up, and hook it around that, like so. Okay, and the jack plate is not sliding back because the pin had slid back. Okay, now when the jack plate trips back, wow, like so, there we go, comes over. This is where this trip plate is going to kick it right here, and flip that over, and when it does, it pops it back and allows that jack plate to slide backwards, like so. Okay. Next, it's going to be this assembly, and this one we're going to actually grease. It might be a long time before anybody's ever back into here to put some grease on here. So we're going to go ahead and grease it right now. We're going to put a little in the hole right here. Put a little bit here. And a little bit here where these slide together. Okay. Now, it's going to go back in to that hole. Let's see, we need to get the jack plate to move back first. There we go. I'll slide this down. Let's see, we got it backwards this way. Like so. And we're ready to put those 2 screws in. Okay, that should turn freely in the hole. It does. Inspect your pinion gear. Make sure that there's no damage to the teeth. And there's not. And now, people, they oftentimes will lube up the teeth here. But if you look right here on the end, this end right here has to mesh with that little keyway on the spool right there. And sometimes a little bit of grease there can go a long way towards getting it to transition from free spool to lock spool. So go ahead and grease just a little bit on there. The pinion gear is back on the yoke. The yoke is reinstalled. Did I put it in correctly? I believe I have. Yep, there's our ramps right there. There's 2 slight ramps right there for these 2 ramps here to mesh up with. So that's the correct way for that to go in. And now, there we go. All right, we're not gonna put those 2 springs on until last. All right, so the next thing we've got here is our anti-reverse pawl here, and it's, like I told you, it's a little bit sprung, not a lot, because it's still tighter than what this is, but not by much. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take and see if we can tweak that just a little bit. First I'm gonna tweak one side, and then I'm gonna tweak the other side. If you just go on there and just try to bend them straight towards each other, all it does is kind of bend the sides, and it causes the tops to flare over. So if you grab hold of it this way and kind of bend them like that, one at a time, there you go, until you get it nice and close like that. That's what we're after. Okay. Now, with that done, we're going to put this washer back on our main gear stack. Then we're going to take our anti-reverse and we're going to turn this around this way so it's going the right way. And we're going to slip this over that gear like that. Okay. And then line this up a little bit. We're going to bring this on to that shaft, line up the keyway on it, and then rotate it around until we get the anti-reverse to drop over that post right there, like so. Now, when it turns, there you go. And it cannot reverse back, cannot go backwards. It can only go forwards. All right. I'll bring it up so you can see that better. Okay. That's your anti-reverse, and that's how it works. Those 2 fingers squeeze together on this cog and pull it in. So it'll only allow it to rotate this way. It cannot go that way. All right. Next goes this flat washer, or phenolic washer. It goes under the main gear. Now we haven't taken the main gear apart yet, so let's go ahead and take a look at the drag stack in it, which probably isn't much. There's no washer on the bottom. We have 1 single drag washer on the top, and these do not get lubricated. This is a dry washer, so everything's clean. There's no dirt in it. We'll go ahead and put that back. We'll slip that on. Now notice that it's not keyed at all. There's no keyway in that. So go ahead and just slide it on, like so. It meshes with the pinion gear. Now, the washer above it, now that one is keyed. All right, and it has to go on to match the keyway, like so. Now, all of that is together, and the only part missing there is going to be this gear over here, and we haven't lubricated this gear. Now, for those of you who've been watching me for a while, you'll see that I tend to put a fair amount of gear on these, fair amount of grease on these gears. Well, I've decided I'm going to start backing that down a little bit. We're not going to heavily grease the whole gear. We're going to put it in about 3 places, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, a little bit there, a little bit there. And it's a learning process. And those of you who have been with me from the beginning know that I'm not a professional at this, and I'm learning these things as we go. Okay, so as this rotates, notice that the pinion gear takes and transfers the grease to all the other teeth on there. And now we have just a nice light coating of grease on every tooth of the gear without having excessive grease anywhere. All right, so that's how I'm going to start trying to get these greased to see if I can do a better job of that. With that done, we're ready to slide this gear back on. And if you can't get him past there, watch this. Lower it down, put it in place, and then slide it up. Okay. All right. Now, that's just about everything on that side. So, let's go ahead at that point. Set this down on that side. We're going to take these 2 yoke springs and put them back in place, like so. We're going to take our cover, make sure that there's no excess grease or anything inside it. This one had a little bit of pooled grease down in it. We're going to lubricate this bearing. I always try to lubricate it once on the way in and once on the way out. That way, if I forget to do one of them, I still got it on the other one. Slide that down. Okay, there we go. Make sure it fits flush all the way. If it's sticking out somewhere, that means something's not meshing properly, and you need to come back and figure it out. Let's put the first screw in. Okay, now if all is set proper, things should be fitting properly. We're going to put this washer on. Then we're going to take these 2, I call them nested or spring washers, and I'm going to put them together. I'm going to turn them both the same direction so that they go on the same direction. Now, if you felt that your drag was lacking a little bit, you tightened it all the way down, you couldn't get it to quite get enough oomph, you could reverse these, put one direction and one the other, and it will create just a little bit more tension against your drag washer and give you more. But this one is in great shape. It doesn't need anything like that. All right, let's go ahead and put the drag knob back on. Now that's going to start to create tension and will allow this to rotate. Okay, so now we should be able to test this. There we go. All right, that's all beautiful. We can go ahead now, put this cap back on. Make sure it's clean, and it is, I believe. I think I cleaned it earlier. Yep, it's clean. And we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of oil in there, like so. Let's go ahead and screw that back on. If you have too much trouble getting it to line up because the drag knob, you can put that on last. All right. You know that I tell you when I have problems so that in the event that somebody else that runs into the same problem, they don't have the same issues that I've got. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm not real sure where I left off, but the position that we're at right now is everything is assembled on this side. I've got the washers in on this side. We don't have the cap on here yet. What we're going to do is we're going to put this cap on, and we're only going to turn it about 1.5 to 2 turns, right like that. Okay, don't tighten that down. That's where I made my mistake when I tried to put this together. All right, do not tighten that down. Okay, next we're going to take the spool. We're going to oil it. We got to make sure not to get the line trapped when we go to put this in. Slide the spool in. And again, we've got the line trapped right here. So we've got to make sure to get that out of there. Easiest way is usually to bring it on around and get hold of it right where it's at and pull it on out like so. All right, with that done, oh, there went my washers out. We'll put them back in a minute. All right, with that done, we're gonna go ahead and put the side case on. Make sure that it fits flush. If it will go most of the way but not quite, you may have this too tight. All right, that was my problem. I had tightened that all the way down, and the side plate would not go on because I had that too tight. All right, that looks good. Okay, put your washers back on. Okay, now you can go ahead and tighten this side cover screw down, and you want it to, we're just starting to almost apply tension. Okay. Okay, once you find it where it's applying tension, back it off about 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn so that it's free flowing. Okay, like so. All right. Put your drag adjuster knob back on. Put your tensioner in place. And this tensioner looks like it's been flattened a time or two. If you look at it, that doesn't look like it's got hardly any tension to it, does it? What I do when I find them like that is I'll go ahead, take a pair of needle nose, grab hold of it and add just a little bit of bend to it like that. And I do that on each side. If you do that too many times, your tensioner spring is going to break, but it shouldn't flatten out like that unless you've applied too much, unless it's been flattened out too much by the handle and the tensioner or adjuster. So there we go. Put our nut lock back on. Clear our workbench, which I meant to do all along. And what do we see? We see that we have no spare parts left. So let's see what we have. Okay, that's pretty tight. Now, I'm never real fond of running these lines up through here, but this one doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. The fresher and newer the line, the quicker it will go in. All right. There we go. Push the button. Good. Okay, now this is one that releases the level wind feature. And this is something I learned from Dennis Kuntz. When you do this, is when you go to cast this thing, if you will take, and well, this one here is too far in to begin with. Let's pull it out some. If you will take and adjust it to the middle position right there. When you go to cast, what you'll end up with is a much freer, easier flow, because now it won't have to go from this side all the way back and forth. It can just go to the middle on each one. All right, so that was a nice tip I learned from Dennis. Thank you, Dennis, for that tip. I'm going to give it to you guys. So if you will try to get your line roller level wind to stop right there, it will work much better. All right, so what do we have? We've got a nice drag. We've got anti-reverse that works. We've got line trip. The spool free flows. All right, so there you have the Zebco ProSaf PS5000 bait caster, and I hope you like it. We haven't done a whole lot of bait casters, but I really have a whole lot of them for us to do. Here's a quick glance at my shelf of bait casters for us to do. Okay, and there is a shot of the spin cast reels that we've got coming up. And I'm not even going to take you downstairs to show you the massive pile of spinning reels that I have for us to do. So we have lots of reels for Young Martin's Reels. I do have one that's supposed to be coming into me. It is a Mitchell 300 Excellence reel, which is not the same as the old Mitchell 300. And it's supposed to be coming into me. It has a problem with the anti-reverse. The guy that has it is having trouble with it. He takes it apart, services it, puts it back together, and the anti-reverse works for 4 or 5 casts, and then it stops working again. So he asked me if I'd take a look at it. I don't know if I can fix it or not, but we're going to see what we can do with it when it gets here. I think our next reel, I didn't want to do 2 broken reels in a row, but I think the next reel is going to be this South Bend Mr. Big Fish. This is a really unique reel. It has a feature on it, which happens to be what's broken. It's called direct drive right here. And what that does is it disengages the drag if you decide you're feeding out too much drag. I'm not real crazy about that feature, but it is different. It's engineered completely different from the ones that I've seen before. So we're going to go through that reel probably tomorrow or the next day and see what we can do. I'm not going to try to put it back out there because I don't want to put it, even though I would disable this feature. And if that's what's broken, is the switch on it is broken. And I'm not going to mess with that. So we won't put the Mr. Big Fish back out there fishing, although you could. We could just take the switch off of it and fish it as a normal reel with normal drag, because that's what it is. And who knows, maybe I will. Maybe I won't retire it. But it's a nice reel. It's well built, except for that cheap plastic switch on the side. Anyway, that's coming up. If you like what you saw here today, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. As of today, we're almost at 300 subscribers. I'm sure that's going to continue to grow with time, and that's fine. But for now, that's Rick Stivers of the Young Martin's Reels, signing out.